Moses Moody. Moses Moody. Steph Curry in this game tonight against the Pelicans had just about nothing going. He had his first field goal late in the third quarter, only because Jimmy Butler decided to be nice. So against the garbage team on the road, a team like the Warriors still have to be able to take care of business when the other team is missing a Zion Williamson and they're going through all kinds of turmoil. No more Willie Green for their team, probably better off. But the Warriors have more than enough bodies and more than enough talent, again, to take care of business, and that is what they did tonight, thanks to the efforts of Moses Moody. Moses Moody had an incredible first quarter. He had a career shooting night within the first quarter. He shot 7 of 8 from the 3-point line, and he had 21 points after the first quarter. When you talk about young guys stepping up on a night, 37-year-old Steph Curry does not have his game going and is getting bottled up by Herb Jones. And there he is, fifth-year player Moses Moody. 32 points in this game, led all scorers. The second best scorer on the team tonight was Jimmy Butler with 18 points. Unfortunately, the Warriors had some problems through that third quarter before they were able to close the lid for good in that fourth quarter. And as always, we'll go through the good and the bad. And if that sounds good to you, be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell and that like button so that this video gets out to all the Warriors fans out there. And I just want to say thank you so much for getting me to 20,000 subscribers. That is incredible. We are loving the growth of this channel, this community. The comment section is just incredible, full of people with amazing basketball knowledge. You guys are awesome. And whatever deepest truth that you hold in your knowledge, I love that I can rely on you to share your thoughts in the comment section. And you know that I'm here to engage with you every step of the way. Let's continue to blow up this channel so that the truth spoken is so powerful and undeniable, so that the powerful messages that need to get out there and to the team actually finds a way to get there. Let's get straight to it. Here's a fun fact. Coming into this game, the Warriors had yet to win 3 straight games this season. Explains their 8-6 record, 3-6 on the road. So the Warriors start off with what appears to be their permanent starting lineup for the foreseeable future. At some point, I do feel, especially against certain bigger teams, where a lineup like this is not going to work. Until those times come, the Warriors are going to continue to stick with this small lineup. And I do think that they have a little more overall continuity when Will Richard is in there in the starting lineup. Obviously, I want a bigger guy in that starting lineup. Even if they're going to go with a smaller lineup choice, they still have a better option to do so that they can play a faster style, but also just hold up better on the defensive end in general. And they'd be more capable of doing that if they had Guy Santos in there over Will Richard. But against the Pelicans team, missing Zion Williamson, he almost played in this game. It was a game time decision. They're on the front end of a back-to-back, so I guess they decided to sit Zion for tomorrow's game, which means the Pelicans are starting 2 rookies in this game, Derek Queens and Jeremiah Fears. And with that, they came out very lackluster. The Warriors got out to a quick 17-9 start, and if you look at the stat sheet, you'll see that Draymond Green shot 3 of 13 from the field in this game. But that's actually partly because he missed like 5 straight shots very early in that first quarter. He got offensive rebound after offensive rebound. I think he got 4 offensive rebounds on this one possession, and he kept trying to put it back, but he missed them all. But the ball ultimately got out to Moses Moody, who hit a 3-point shot, and at that point, he had hit his first 3 3-pointers. But then the ball kept finding Moody, and he kept hitting these threes. Another 3 comes, and another 3 comes. And next thing you know, he's 5 of 6 from the 3-point line. The guy has 15 points through the first 7 minutes of the game. And at that point, I'm thinking like, Steve Kerr, there's no way. There is no way that Moses Moody is 5 of 6 from the 3-point line and you're gonna take him out of the game and ice and cool off your own hot player. But of course, Kerr decides to sit him, and Buddy Hield and Potts are coming into the game. And then, of course, we get to a 4-guard lineup featuring Buddy Hield and Potts next to Steph Curry, and these lineups just are not good. They are never going to be consistently good unless Steph Curry is just absolutely and utterly on fire, which, of course, he was not tonight. And on those nights, especially, these small lineups are going to be absolute killers because on a night when Steph Curry is off his game, he needs more screens so that he can get more space and get a good look at a shot. Can't do that if 4 guys on the floor are 6'4" or under. Regardless, Kerr decided to throw Moody back into the game, which is great. You cannot bench a guy who is 5 of 6 from the 3-point line and is basically not missing. You gotta let that guy go off and you gotta ride the hot hand. That is good for both that player and the team. And lo and behold, Moody hits 2 more 3-point shots, and at this point, he has 21 points on 7 of 8 from the 3-point line. Absolutely incredible, unbelievable, and you figure by this point, all of his teammates are looking to set screens for him and try to look for him to see what kind of record, if any, he's capable of breaking at this point. I believe Klay Thompson holds the record for most 3-pointers in a single quarter with 9 of them. That's the one that he did against the Sacramento Kings many years ago. But no, Potts is on the floor and he's literally not even looking in Moody's direction. And to be fair, the Warriors did end on a nice run and Potts did hit some shots. It's just, where is the support for your teammate when that teammate of yours is on absolute fire? He's having a career game, having the game of his life, and you're not even looking at his direction? But having said that, Potts himself had a really good game. He played 26 minutes, 19 points on 13 shots, is really efficient, 3 of 7 from the 3-point line. I think a chunk of my issues with Potts is mostly due to the lineups that he's being thrown out there by Steve Kerr. And Kerr plays Potts like he's one of the best players on the team, the amount of times that he's on the floor. And that gets people really riled up about the situation and they start really not liking Potts. At the same time, there's this weird history thing because of Jonathan Kuminga and Steve Kerr's tendency to pull him over the years and not give him the same grace and consistent playing time that he's been giving Potts. So in these weird different ways, a lot of people have super charged up energy about Potts. And I think ultimately, like I said, this is not really as big of a Potts issue as much of a Steve Kerr issue and the way he's using Potts. But yeah, I really despise these lineups where it's like Steph Curry, Potts, and Buddy Hield on the floor at the same time. Not like exactly those 3 guys on the floor. They become very vulnerable on the defensive end of the floor, and no 2 combination of forwards are going to be good enough to completely protect that vulnerability. And once again, Kerr used multiple lineups where those 3 guards were on the floor at the same time, and sometimes it was GP2 next to them playing power forward. These sinful things that Steve Kerr does, it's going to end up hurting this team at some point, and especially later in the season. And if he's continuing to do these things in the playoffs, the Warriors are going to end up in a very similar situation as they were last season, where Steve Kerr is literally starting Steph Curry, Potts, Buddy Hield, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond against a giant Rockets team, and you extend that series to 7 games. And that's after having to deal with another play-in situation on top of that, and then Steph Curry in the first game in the second round, barely any rest going into that series, and suddenly pulls a hammy, something he's never done in his life. And yes, we should definitely be concerned about this situation because 20% of the season has gone by, and Steve Kerr is still doing these things. So that is the long-term concern with these lineups. But tonight, the Warriors finally won their 3rd straight game, and all of them have come on the road. So now they're 4-6 on the road, and they're starting to approach half respectability for a team of this caliber. But man, don't let the final score fool you. 124-106 was the final score. But in that second quarter, after scoring 44 points in the first quarter, the Warriors had some trouble. That typical unit to start the second quarter did not do so well in terms of shooting the ball, unfortunately. The Pelicans tried to make an adjustment, play some zone on the Warriors, and the Warriors were getting good looks. Unfortunately, Quinton Post got off to a slow start. He shot 0 for 3. And they got off to an incredibly slow offensive start. And the Pelicans got off to a 9-3 lead in that second quarter. And then again, the Warriors are struggling. Steph Curry has nothing going. Herb Jones is really containing him in this second quarter. The first quarter, Steph was just taking it easy because Moses Moody was on fire. He basically took that quarter off. And then again, the second quarter comes and he's dealing with the length of Herb Jones. And he's in these weird lineups. You know, don't you find it funny that Jimmy Butler, when he's staggered from Steph Curry, is always protected with bigger lineups? But when it comes to Steph Curry, he's always in these small lineups. Why is Steph Curry never protected defensively? And why does Steve Kerr think that these things are okay? Someday we'll get an answer to some of this utter nonsense. But yes, to end the second quarter, once again, they're going to the small lineup. It is not Will Richard closing it. It is Potts closing it. But again, Potts did some good things to close that second quarter. 2 straight buckets, and then Jimmy Butler gets a steal and a dunk to end the quarter at the half to salvage a horrendous second quarter where they managed to score 17 points. I mean, it's truly insane to think about. They scored 44 points in the first quarter and then score 17 points in the second quarter. Ultimately, the good news is that the Pelicans don't really have it going offensively, and you can certainly give credit to the Warriors defense for that. Draymond was really good defensively. He truly is just all over the map. 3 of 13 from the field, 10 rebounds, which is awesome, 6 assists, which is great, but then 5 turnovers. He's getting stops on one end, throwing it away on the other end, and the results are seemingly all over the map. But from an all-around perspective, the reason the Warriors end up playing great defense is clearly and obviously has a lot to do with Draymond. At the end of the day, he led the team in plus minus. He was a plus 23 in this game. And Jimmy Butler was a little unusual in this game with the turnovers. He had 6 turnovers in this game. But you look at the all-around work that he does and he's just so efficient. 6 of 8 from the field, 1 of 1 from the 3-point line, 5 of 5 from the free throw line, 10 assists to offset those 6 turnovers, and 3 steals. And I loved on this one particular play where Moses Moody is on defense trying to guard a 2-on-1 situation, and he's actually able to break it up, which ignites the fast break on the other end for the Warriors, and that's just incredible. You're in a 2-on-1 deficit in transition, and you're able to get a stop and get a transition for your team on the other end instead. So Moses Moody played a two-way game, incredible efficiency on the offensive end of the floor, 4 rebounds and 3 steals. We absolutely love to see this development from Moses Moody, and if he can continue to play more consistent basketball where he is a two-way presence for his team. And again, kind of playing that old Klay Thompson role where he's an utter threat to score within the system, is a great floor spacer with his shooting ability. Now he can be considered a movement shooter. And what an incredible development that is, along with the fact that he's now the team's primary point of attack. But yes, Moses Moody gets the stop. The ball is out in transition. Now it's Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry all alone. Jimmy is free to go and get a dunk by himself, but he sees Steph Curry and decides to dump it off, get himself an assist, and try to get Steph Curry going, because to this point, Curry had not had a field goal yet in this game. Insane. But what a cute and sweet moment this is. I just love the fact that Jimmy Butler is Steph Curry's teammate. Buddy Hield finally hit some threes in this game. He even had 3 steals and made some differences in this game. And it's also not his fault that he's being thrown out there all day and night. Not only oftentimes as the POA of this team, absolute and utter nonsense. Whenever he's at POA and he's guarding a Jose Alvarado even, that is a mismatch. And if he's guarding some speedy guy like Jeremiah Fears, that is an utter mismatch. I really hope that Mike Dunleavy is paying very close attention to this situation and get Buddy Hield off this team once and for all by the deadline. The Warriors cannot go into the playoffs with Buddy Hield in rotation. They have a lot of guards on this team. DeAnthony Melton is getting closer and closer to a return, and that means they will have Melton, GP2, and Potts coming off their bench, and that is already too many. You cannot add Buddy Hield on top of that and play 4 guard lineups all day and night. That is just not going to allow the Warriors to reach their full potential as a great team this season. After a really slow and concerning start for Al Horford with this team, he's looked much better in recent games. He's doing a great job defensively, all things considered, constantly being asked to protect 4 guard lineups now. Before, he was being asked to protect these lineups where Kuminga is at the power forward spot and the team was completely and utterly broken. Al Horford could do nothing to protect that lineup. And somehow he's managed to do a better job of protecting a 4 guard lineup than a lineup with Kuminga at the 4. You guys can come to your own decisions on which one is worse. A 4 guard lineup with Horford at center, or a 3 guard lineup with JK at the 4 with Horford trying to protect that. The results are showing that Horford is having an easier time protecting a 4 guard lineup, believe it or not. And in the last 2.5 games where Kuminga has not been available, the Warriors win 3 straight games on the road. If you like to think that that is coincidence, you're free to think that. For me, Moses Moody has permanently taken Kuminga's job at the small forward spot. And that's it. They're going to try to have him coexist with the team for as long as possible until the Warriors are able to move Kuminga, because you are not going to have Kuminga come off your bench and play a fringe role, a role that Guy Santos can play better than him, while paying the guy $23 million. He needs to go to a different situation. It is clear as day now. Kuminga must be moved by the deadline or before so that he can go and spread his wings somewhere else. And we saw a glimpse of a potential guy that the Warriors could trade for, that being either Trey Murphy, unlikely, or Herb Jones, which potentially could be possible. If the Warriors can somehow talk Joe Dumars into giving up Herb Jones in a deal for Jonathan Kuminga, well, you saw a glimpse of what Herb Jones can do against Steph Curry as a primary POA. And a key thing that the Warriors are missing this season is somebody who is utterly elite at that POA. Somebody who can potentially play shutdown defense. Moses Moody has shown signs of it. We know what GP2 is capable of, but if a guy like Herb Jones joined the Warriors, he would instantly be their best POA. And when you go into the playoffs, that is the type of player that you're going to need to combat all these great talents in the NBA. SGA, Luka Doncic, Jamal Murray, Devin Booker, Anthony Edwards, all these types of players that you might run into in the playoffs. You need a definitive guy that is going to be able to limit those guys and not let those guys get whatever they want. Without having that piece, it is that much harder for the Warriors to try to reach the promised land. You have to be able to limit the other team's best player. Anyway, we'll see what comes of that situation. I just want to say, Will Richard, whenever he is put in these certain situations, especially in the starting lineup as a rookie, he's done a really nice job. And he's a really tenacious athlete. For being 6'4", he really goes after rebounds, and he's pretty explosive going for it too. He was tied for second in rebounds in this game with 7 of them in only 22 minutes of play. And fair play to that small starting lineup. Their plus minus was off the charts. They really carried the Warriors in this game. But yes, in the fourth quarter, it was still a game. It was still a 14-point lead only. Steph Curry, once again, just through the first 3 quarters, didn't have a whole lot going. He ended up with 9 points, just 9 points. And yet he was a plus 18 in this game. Shows you that his overall presence and impact for this team is much greater than just his own personal scoring. And if you're the type of fan that expects me to go at almost 38-year-old Steph Curry for having an off game in terms of his own offense, I'm sorry. You are out of your mind. The whole reason this channel exists is to look at the big picture of what this team can accomplish with Steph Curry leading the way. He is literally the only reason that this Golden State Warriors team matters. Everything hinges on his greatness. So if there's anybody that is going to get the longest rope, that is going to be Steph Curry. That is our guy. He is the leader of the team. He is the GOAT, and there is undying loyalty when it comes to Steph Curry. And again, if you're the type that wants to see harsh criticism towards Curry, I highly doubt that you're actually a Warriors fan. You're here for a different agenda. All that said, the Warriors are back on the right track. For now, they are now 9-6, and they are now tied for the 6th seed in the Western Conference. And as you can see at the top, it is becoming an absolute gauntlet as usual. It's just going to be competition the entire season to stay in the playoff picture and avoid the play-in. So trying to watch the Warriors play their best brand of basketball, we're going to have to continue to talk about these fundamentally questionable or broken lineups. There are going to be nights, depending on the competition, where the Warriors are going to be able to easily overcome it, and there are going to be nights where they're going to have trouble overcoming it, these deficits that are created by Steve Kerr and the coaching staff. Again, part of the reason why it was only a 14-point game going into the fourth quarter, the Warriors allowed 13 offensive rebounds in the first 3 quarters. The big lineup to close the fourth quarter closed that off. The Pelicans were no longer getting second chance opportunities in that fourth quarter. But because of these tiny lineups all over the place, 13 offensive rebounds in the first 3 quarters is absolutely insane. You're giving the other team a chance to come back in a game that they should be down by like 25, 30 points. So we're going to stay intense. We're going to stay vigilant. We're going to continue to look at the best possible ways, best possible combinations that is going to put the Warriors at the next level and be able to maximize what they have given the roster that they have. Anyway, the Warriors have a short week coming up. They have 3 games in the coming week. A game against the Magic, a game against the Heat, and then they go back home against the Blazers. So these next 2 games on the road, I really wonder how that's going to go. These are not necessarily easy teams to play on the road, but slowly we are seeing incremental improvements for this team. And we'll see about Kuminga's status going into Tuesday night's game against the Magic. That's all I got for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Big shout out to Moses Moody for an amazing game. And at the end of the day, Steph Curry is the GOAT.